in most years, we read Parashat Miketz on Shabbos Chanukah. So the Shabbos, which falls on the holiday of Chanukah, falls in most cases to Parashat Miketz. This year is exceptional. This year we will read Parashat Vayeishev, which is 1 week before. So after Chanukah, we will still read the story of Miketz. If we look carefully, we can find message that starts in the Parashat Vayeishev and in Parashat Miketz. It starts this week, Shabbos Chanukah, and ends the next week, which is usually Shabbos Chanukah, and it has deep connection to the message of the holiday of Chanukah, which is about the Greek influence and the fight of the Hashmonaim against the Greek influence. So what is the story that we see in Parashat Vayeishev? We see Yosef was seeing a dream in which his brothers are bowing down to him. But they obviously want to avoid this situation, and they don't feel that it's a good situation. And they say, when they first they try to kill him, and then they sell him, and then they say, we want to see what comes out of his dreams. Which means, provided that we sell him as a slave to Egypt, it is not possible that we will bow down to him. And if we read on, we see the story of next week, then we see that it is not just possible, rather just the opposite. It is exactly the fact that they sold him to Egypt. This was the first initiating move that was causing him to the realization of his dream. Because he first sold as a slave, and then later on he became the slave in the house of Potiphar, and then he becomes very important in the house of Potiphar. Later on he becomes to the court of Pharaoh, and then he becomes second in command to Pharaoh. And then comes the brothers and bow down to him. And seemingly the message is that it's not possible to avoid the destiny which is written already. And if we think about the Greek culture and its comparison with the Judaism and the Torah message, we can indeed find very, very similar message in a Greek drama where it's talking about a king that is having this problem that they tell him, the astrologers tell him that you have this son and he will be having an incestuous relationship with his mother, which is a terrible thing. And in order to avoid it, they put him outside, this small baby, they put him away, and they want to get rid of this dangerous baby. And of course, nevertheless, at the end of the story, everything will come true, just as the astrologers said. So let us now get a bit deeper. What's the similarity and what's the difference between these two stories and these two messages? The core message seems to be the same. Nobody can avoid the destiny. On the other hand, the Greek story is frustrating. It has no practical message, it has no constructive message, and it has no moral message. And it is not teaching us anything, and the whole purpose is to make the people who read this and the people who see this excited. And in order to achieve this excitement, they introduce this element of incestuous relationships, which is of course big sins. But the author of this Greek drama is not bothered by this. And he does not think that, oh, maybe I should not present such terrible things to my readers and to who watch this thing, which is drama, because it's a terrible thing. And maybe I should educate them to the good. And maybe I should set them good example. That's not how he thinks. That's not how he sells his message. Rather, what? He wants to make something exciting. Doesn't matter how. Very interestingly, we find similar message regarding the flood. The story of the flood, as described in the beginning of the Torah, can be found also in other cultures. But it's very worthwhile to compare the narrative of the flood as written down in Torah and is written down in other cultures, because in the Torah it contains a moral message. The moral message is that the earth became immoral, and Hashem wanted to end this immoral behavior. So we found Noach, and Noach was extremely righteous person, and whoever is on earth today descends from him. And there's a very deep message here. The goodness is in everybody. Everybody who was on this earth has descendant of Noach, and he can be very good. And this deep moral message is hidden in the story of the flood in the Torah. On the other hand, other cultures also wrote about the flood very different things. They wrote that there are gods in the sky who cannot sleep because the human beings are very loud and they want to sleep. So what did they do? They killed them. So again, no moral message, no constructive message. And I think this is something that is a very great message for Chanukah. It expresses the contrast between the Torah culture and the Greek culture. And one could say, there's no Greeks anymore here. But if you look around carefully, then you can indeed find different cultural movies, books, stories, different things which they sell, and they also don't contain any moral or constructive purpose. There is no deep message hidden. It's just all about excitement, and the excitement is so important that no other value is on pair with it. On the other hand, in the Torah you will always find this deep meaning and deep message, and to listen to the stories of Torah and the lessons of the Torah, it always means that one who listens to it has not wasted time. It's not a waste of time. It's a very valuable time, and it's bringing more and more light, as the lights of Chanukah should bring us light in a dark world. And not just the darkness, which other stories bring, which don't have any expectation to show any deeper message.